Imagine something for a moment. Rewind to spending time with your best friends from your hometown. Just think about it. Memories ranging from playing tag on the playgrounds to going to prom. You shared your hopes, dreams, and heartbreaks with them. These are your best friends, and you grew up in the culture of your hometown together. Now, fast forward, and you're heading to a place where your friends can't come with you. You're forced to either make new friends or be alone. Just let that sink in. This place is filled with people your age, but they went to different playgrounds as kids and maybe didn't even go to prom. These people came from different cultures. But not all is lost. I'm here to tell you intercultural relationships are possible, and you've probably made a few already. We've all done this. We came from different parts of the country, went to different high schools, and now we all go to Texas Christian University. Each friendship you make at this university is intercultural in at least some way or another. Intercultural relationships are relationships we make outside of our own culture. They are made up by friends who are both insiders and outsiders, separate and together, independent and interdependent. They are relationships filled by paradox, and they can work. And I know that you really want to know how to make them work. But first we have to understand a few things. Intercultural relationships are made up of people who have different group identities. These differences in group identities become the basis of the relationship, and there are three critical elements to maintain and develop intercultural relationships. So, each of us has a cultural identity, which is made up by our race, sex, ethnicity, and nationality. While these characteristics are limiting, they are often used by in-group and out-group members to provide markers towards in-group membership and stereotypes. While we can appreciate each other's cultural identities and use them to understand our own cultural identity, race, sex, ethnicity, and nationality are only a piece of the puzzle. By understanding that these characteristics are involuntary and limiting, we can move towards the realization that what we say and do constitutes who we are. A personal example of this for me was transferring to TCU from a small college outside of Los Angeles, California. The transfer has given me hands-on experience with people of all kinds of cultural identities. At both schools, APU and TCU, I've met people who are so different from who I am in the context of race, sex, ethnicity, and nationality. While these differences were present, some of the best aspects of these relationships were the fact that similarities in interests, experience, and preferences did exist. And when they didn't, it created opportunities to develop even deeper relationships. One theory that is useful for building knowledge of each other's cultural identities is cultural identity theory, or CIT. The premise of this theory is that people have multiple cultural identities, and that these identities are constituted through discourse with others. This means that we come to know who we are through our talks with others in an intercultural relationship. Your cultural identity is dynamic and constantly evolving. It's negotiated, co-created, and reinforced in communication with others when we socially interact. It covers your entire lifespan and changes every moment based on social context. Cultural identity is the constantly shifting understanding of one's identity in relation to others. With the relationships that I've made at both schools, I can tell you that the differences in group identities and culture enrich the relationship and actually become the basis of it. By working to understand the similarities and differences from someone else's culture, we can improve our own cultural competence, learn about our own culture, and both parties can gain mutual benefits. One of these mutual benefits is traveling. I have friends ranging from California to Portugal, all of which I want to visit at some point. While at TCU, I've had friends come and visit me in Oregon, giving them experiences of my state's culture and participating in activities such as skiing, sightseeing, and drinking some of the best craft beer in the nation. Thanks to Mary Jane Collier, there have been 3 determined issues that must be addressed to solidify success in these relationships. The issues that are central to intercultural relationships are power and underprivilege, acknowledgement of history, and orientations of affirmation. Once these 3 issues are understood, the relationship can flourish and move through different conflicts that come up. In today's world, power differences and underprivilege can be associated with different race, sex, ethnicity, and nationality. These power differences and underprivileges are ever-present issues for people who are negotiating and discussing their cultural identities. Recognition of these subjects help each party understand why conflict happens and aids conflict management in the relationship. Much like power and underprivilege, the impact of history is also something we must all learn to understand and be open about. We must all recognize the impact and relevance of history and past experiences of discrimination. By realizing that we are living in the legacy of the past, we can use what we've learned to create the history for the future. The final issue of navigating a successful intercultural relationship is to have orientations of affirmation. This means that intercultural relationships must have an intention to value cultural differences and affirm the other person as a member of a culturally different group. Friends are more likely to maintain their friendship when their self-concept as well as their value of the relationship is affirmed. By understanding these three issues of power and underprivilege, impact of history, and orientations of affirmation, we are well on our way to having a successful intercultural relationship. This will help us better understand our friend's point of view and help us conduct our own reactions, so if conflict does arise, we are more competent and equipped to resolution and success. With all this in mind, from understanding our cultural identities from the cultural identity theory and how to deal with intercultural conflict as it comes up, we can come to the realization that we are all individuals who are part of many different cultures in our lives. By understanding that we have different experiences that make us who we are, we can make relationships that can last a lifetime. Okay, rewind again for me. Back to when you were a kid growing up. This was a time that helped form who you are today. Everyone around you at TCU and in the world was a kid at some point too. By understanding we are all different yet similar, individuals yet together, we can reach out and make some of the most amazing friendships out there. The intercultural relationship.